Yes. Okay. Today we're going to be talking about pass by reference versus pass by value. This isn't a technique you can use in JavaScript, but it's something to be mindful of because sometimes you might have some funky behaviors going on, and it's good to be aware of am I passing this value through pass by value or pass by reference? Like, how am I getting this object or number or whatever? So we have this array that has the numbers 1, 2, 3 in it. We have another variable, new array, and we set it equal to the first variable array. Then we push in the number 4 to new array. What will get console logged out when we console log new array? Yeah. And then what do you expect to get console logged out when you console log array?
4.
So actually, yes, it's so new array is 1, 2, 3, 4. Array is also going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's because array and new array are not pointing to the same location in memory. We're using pass by reference to assign this new array variable. So when we make this assignment, it's not going to create another array with the numbers 1, 2, 3 in it. It's going to just point to the same place that the first array. Yeah. Exactly.
But is there a way to do
Say that again?
or you can use base value?
It's been a while since I've used Excel. I don't remember exactly the ins and outs, but there are ways to make it so that you're not pointing to the exact same array that we'll go over. Yeah.
Shut up one of these cases.
Oh yeah.
Just one of these.
I don't know how. I think the light switches are in this bathroom. Okay. So we're right here.
There's a seat up here.
There's
If
what?
you want to come up front.
Okay, so new array, it references the same physical array as array. So in your computer, there's a piece of memory that's taken up by this 1, 2, 3, now 4 array, and you can modify it with either variable because push is a variable that modifies the array, and they'll both be changed. And so this is what's called pass by reference. Okay, so this is another example. We have a variable array, and it's an array of 1, 2, 3, 4. We have another array, and it's set equal to an array of 1, 2, or they both are 1, 2, 3. Then we push the number 4 into the new array, so the second variable. What do we expect to console log out for new array?
4.
Yeah, and then what do we expect to be console logged out for array? Exactly. So 1, 2, 3, 4 for the new array that we push that number 4 into, but 1, 2, 3 for the array, because we're not setting new array equals array or vice versa. We're setting it to a whole new instance of an array. Okay, yes.
When you pass by reference, if you delete the first one, what happens to the second one?
That's a great question. I'm not 100% sure the best way to delete.
If you say by accident, you just get rid of the first value. It's
Like,
pointing to,
like-
the second one is pointing to.
do you just like delete that line of code? Or you like find a way to like delete?
If you have array 1 equal to array 2,
Yeah,
and then by mistake you delete array 1,
yeah,
but 1 was pointing to the same reference as 2
yeah.
was pointing to the same reference as 1, what happens? To 2.
I would think that a error of some sort will get thrown, but deleting variables, I think, would be, you would have to go through a series of steps to do that. Like, you couldn't just like accidentally delete a variable, I don't think. But if you like reassigned it to like the number 0 or something, we'll talk about that will break the double pointer, but it will still point to the same line. Yeah. So it's just like pointing to a part in memory, and if like it stops pointing to that part in memory, that doesn't mean that one will. So okay, we have another example of array with 1, 2, 3, and then we have new array equals array.slice, which if you remember, will just return all the numbers, and then we do new array.push 4. What do we expect to console log out for new array? Yeah, and then what do we expect to console log out for array?
1, 2, 3.
Exactly, yeah. So slice is really handy because it makes a copy of it, but it'll make a whole new instance of that array in your memory. So yeah, in the first case, they're identical, but they're separate. They're created separate instances of it. And then the second one, it creates an exact copy of the array, but they're separate in memory. Any questions on like these two, specifically slice? Yeah, it's a really common practice of if you want to make a copy of an array and you're worried at all about pass by reference like funkiness messing with you, doing a copy using .slice is, you'll see that a lot. Okay, so now we have an array of 1, 2, 3, and then we have a function called push4, and it takes an array and it pushes 4 into that array and it returns the array. And then we have a variable new array that is equal to the return value of push4 with the first array, 1, 2, 3, passed into it. What do we expect a new array to log out? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what do we expect array to log out? The first one.
1, 2, 3.
So it actually logs out 1, 2, 3, 4, because even though we're using this function to sort of like take it a layer up, we're still setting it equal to array. So we're still having that dual pointer to the same place in memory. So if the function modifies the array, it's going to modify it for both, it's the same instance, but for both variables. Okay, so this is objects. We just did a lot of fun things with objects. We have one object that's variable object set equal to an empty object. We have this function that's add key value that adds the string key with the value val to the object and returns it. And then we have a new object that's set equal to add key val, return value with object passed in. So we're getting that empty object passed in, adding the key value pair and returning it. What do we expect to get console logged out for the new object, the return value of this add key val function? So it's going to have that key val pair. What do we expect object, the first variable, to be?
Save.
So it's actually going to be the same because objects also, this is another version of pass by reference. Let's see, do we get, yeah. So yeah, this is just like with arrays, when you create an object, it creates it in memory, and then you'll have these like dual pointers to the same piece in memory. You're not going to create another object. And this function is a way of like pass by reference. Okay, so in this case we have var number equals 3. And then we have an add1 function that takes a number, adds 1 to it, and returns that number. And we have a new variable, new num, and set it equal to the return value of add1 with number passed in. What do we expect new num to be? What do we expect number to be? So it's going to be 3. And this is because we learned about two major different classifications of types in JavaScript. We have the primitive types, so that's the number, string, boolean. I'm blanking on the rest, but the ones that, you know, are more of the basic ones, the building blocks. And then we have the objects, which are the object, array, date, time, regex functions. And anytime we have a primitive number, that will always be passed by value. So when we have an equal sign and then a primitive value on the other end, it will be passed by value. And so it'll be a new instance, like it'll be saved in your memory, different place, and it won't have that dual pointer of the pass by reference. Objects will always be passed by reference if the return value is on this side, unless you use something like .slice that will sort of create a copy in your memory.
Can you do .slice for objects also?
No, but I feel like there's a way to make a copy of an object. We'll find one. Yeah. So yeah, unlike arrays, and object numbers can only be passed by value. Two variables can never point to the same number in your machine, because you know that also could just be craziness if you had to have all of the numbers in your machine to have variables point to, and it would just, this is just stored in your machine every time it's created instead of a copy, or a copy is automatically made. So in this example, we have var string equals hello, and then we have add world function that takes a string, adds the word world to that parameter, and returns string. And then we have a new variable, new string, and it's equal to the return value of add world with string passed in. What is the new string going to be? Yeah, and then what is string going to be? Exactly, because this is another example of pass by value. So it's they have their own physical places. Okay, so now we have, this is a long one, but like we can get through it. We have a variable 1, 2, 3. We have a function do stuff, very well named, I love it, that takes an array and it right away assigns new array variable to array. It pushes in the number 4 into array. Then it reassigns array to the array 4, 5, 6. Then it pushes in the number 7. And then it returns an object with array as the key and array as the value. So this will be an actual array. And new array as the key and new array, which we assign up here, as the value. And we get this object as the return value of array passed in. I'm going to let you all take a minute to sort of read that. I know it's bright, but... So, who thinks they have an idea of what obj.newArray is going to be? great idea. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4. Because we assign new array to array up here, which is 1, 2, 3, and we push in 4 to that. I'm going to show you where it's sort of, yeah, let's go through all the obj.array.
4, 5,
4, 5,
6,
7.
7. This is
And then array.
all of them.
No, 1, 2,
All
3.
of them first.
Yeah, so what happens is when we do this reassignment array equals 4, 5, 6, that creates a new array in memory, and then that variable array is now pointing to that, just within this function. So it sort of removes itself, but the overall array and the new array are still pointing to the same place in memory.
Is it because it's above, like it's on line 69 when you array is equal to your array versus 71?
Because when we have array equals, that severs the link between this array and the array on 67. So 67 is passed into the function, and it's modified until that reassignment happens.
What if 71 was where 69 is, and then you have var new array is equal to array?
Yeah.
Then new array, so you do the reassignment first before you get the new array and push in 4. Then this array would console log out 1, 2, 3, and then new array and array would both be 4, 5, 6, 7. Because when you assign new array equals array, at whatever array it's pointing to at that moment is going to be the one that it is linked to.
How we can return all of them? Like 1 to 7.
You
Could you just take away the array equals 4, 5, 6 and put array dot push 4, 5, 6?
Yeah, you could totally do that. The equal sign is where it's sort of severed. So if you remove that and use push, that would be a way that you could get all of them in there. But then all of them would have 1 through 7 in their arrays. So we learned that primitives such as numbers and strings are only passed by value. 2 variables can't be pointing at the same number in memory. Then object types, arrays, objects, functions are passed by reference. So we can have as many variables, I'm sure there's a limit, but you can have many variables pointing to and modifying the same one. And this is why it's so important when we talked about array methods, which ones modify and which ones don't, because this can cause some weird side effects if you're not on top of what everything is pointing to. Redefining or slicing it for arrays breaks the pass by reference link. Pass by reference, pass by value, not so much a technique, more just good to know so that you're aware of it while you're coding and solving problems, because it can cause some headaches and weird bugs if you're not on top of it, or it could be useful also in some ways. Okay, any questions on pass by value, pass by reference? Sort of like this big thing. I'll send out some articles, 2 articles I found that were really helpful. Also, pre-reading is always really great to get a better understanding, go back after the workshop or lecture, but this is one of those that you don't have to be able to explain it right now to get into admissions. Just be aware of it. It's a thing, and like get practice. Question yourself, is this pass by reference, pass by value while you're solving the problems?